welcome. Look at Lucas. Look at this man. That was my face too, Lucas. That was my face too. Because it's gone. But you're here. You're at the right spot. It's crunch time.
Now he's licking his lips.
It is crunch time with Jeff, Booner, Lucas, and Gentry. We
There you go, Vinny.
Yeah. I changed up some stuff. I trimmed the hair off. Got it correctly done. All right, got it correctly done. This isn't a Lady Jane's cut. This is by an actual barber, someone that is very, very good at their job in Spencer, and he took care of your boy today. Man, shout out to Spencer. He blessed me today, and he did it right. It's not like I gotta get. It's weird. It's weird. I feel like Lucas now, but you know what? I like it. Less upkeep. I'm here. I like it.
It's a life-changing decision, Jeff, that you will be forever happy for. Wait till you wake up tomorrow morning. Wait till you wake up and you're like, oh, I can just move. I don't have to put product in my hair. I can just get out the shower. Your hair will be dry in 30 seconds. You can go up. By the time you get from, let's say you're in the shower in your basement, you walk from there to your room, your hair's dry.
See, that's good.
You throw everything on. You get to going out the door. You can still wear a hat. You can still do everything.
It's
hot.
I
will say, though.
It's
You
hot.
got to get your hair cut more frequently, though, because if you're going to have a fade, you got to keep it clean. So I get mine like every 2 weeks.
It's fair. I understand. Fair. I understand. You know what? The big thing, though, and people, anyone, I know we have some people that watch and tune in outside of Michigan, but if you're in Michigan, you know how humid it is. It's been so hot. Man, dude, my hair, and it's getting longer. I was like, you know what? Screw this, boys. It's June. It'll probably grow back by the season anyway. Might get it cut again. I might stick around like this.
You should, Jeff. I'm telling you.
Don't let him get hot.
But I appreciate all the love in the chat. We got a lot to get to. Tom Gores spoke today, and Trajan Langdon had their press conference. I got a lot of thoughts on that. I wrote a lot of stuff. Booner's not here, so we need Booner notes. I'm going to start showing my notes now. That's how
the Booner notes from New York. He sent them in. Yeah,
he sent in the Booner notes. But yeah, I just wrote a lot of things down I wanted to bring up on the show because that press conference was interesting.
It was special.
It was special. That's a good word, Mike.
I'm Borzak.
Yeah, it was.
Interview.
It was. Let's just get into it. Screw it. Because it was an hour late. Hour and 5 minutes. I totaled up everything. Hour and 5 minutes. So for all the fans, Pistons fans, they had to wait over an hour, technically, hour, 5 minutes. Kudos to you, because I was one of them. And just to wait an hour, which the first thing that was brought up by I guess it'd be like I forgot who it is exactly, but it's basically Tom Gores' right-hand man. He spoke initially. He was like, sorry, we had something with traffic. Traffic messed some things up for us. Man, I didn't know Detroit was New York, but at least we got it started. Regardless, it was an hour wait, so that was already annoying. It just seems like that's a common theme with the Pistons anyway, with all their press conferences. It's always late, but an hour's just terrible. I'm sorry. It just can't happen. Another thing he started off with, which was a disaster start, I'll say. An absolute disaster of a start. I mean, Tom Gores, as soon as he spoke, I knew a lot of Pistons fans, and I want Mike's, because Mike was watching too. I saw he was watching. Mike, I couldn't help but just keep cringing. I cringed every time Tom spoke. Like he went on that. I think it was a 15-minute rant to start. I totaled that up too. It was about a 10 to 15 minute. I stopped it. I timed it at 10, but then there was another couple minutes. So it's probably, let's just say 15 minutes of Tom just talking in circles. Like it was
word salad.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of,
he was just trying to fill time. He probably knew the press conference had to be an hour long and he only had 5 minutes worth of things to say. So he said it 3 times.
Yeah.
It was word salad, Mike.
He repeated himself a lot. I'm hugging Trajan Langdon, but for the most part, I thought Trajan was pretty well spoken. He did do the normal Piston thing where he kind of dodges all the answers that are relative towards the team's timeline. But other than that, I thought he was pretty good. But Tom Gores is just horrible. He just doesn't learn. I feel like as much as we want him to speak, I feel like it's better off that he doesn't, because stuff like this happens, and it was just brutal. The whole chat on the YouTube channel was just letting him have it. So it was a rough day for Tom Gores.
I want to make sure I use the correct word here. It's close to narcissism, very close, because of the fact that Tom kept bringing up platinum equity. Like, dude, 101 things not to do in a press conference to introduce Trajan Langdon. Continually plug your own business and compare, well, it's so successful. I just figured I would take things I learned from that and apply it to the Pistons. It's just so successful. Platinum equity. Like, hashtag ad. That's what the chat was spamming too. I mean, it was like he was plugging platinum equity, which he did it multiple times. I mean, I literally wrote it down. Kept plugging platinum equity. That's how many times he plugged platinum equity. I mean, and I honestly just did him a favor by saying as many times I just said it. He even made this joke about Trajan, which, like, Trajan, I feel bad. I do, because I do like Trajan Langdon. I want to make that very clear. Listening to him speak, I was like, this guy he's more, because when you listen to Troy speak, it's like, does this guy know where he is? But then when you listen to Trajan Langdon, you're like, you can see that he's an intellectual. He's smart. Again, we haven't really seen anything yet, but from what he was saying, I'm like, okay, smart guy. I like Trajan Langdon. But Tom, like, he kept making these cringy jokes to him. Like, I think he looked over, and he kept looking at Trajan. He goes, "How about that, Trajan? How about that?" And Trajan would be like, "Yeah." Like, oh.
Yeah, Trajan's very well spoken, and he was definitely reading the room off rip. That was probably one of the biggest things. But Jeff, was there any like positive that you really took from him out of today's press conference? Like something that he said that like really stuck with you?
I mean, it's tough because he's here now. So there's a lot of things there's a lot more work to do. So with the question regarding the roster, like, that's why it was hard, because a lot of the questions were like, what about Cade? What about this? And he complimented Cade and gave him a lot of credit, but he doesn't know, he's with the Pelicans, who played the Pistons twice a year. So he's not familiar as much with the roster yet. But that's stuff that's going to come now post press conference. But they've been working for a couple of weeks now. I'll say this, every time Trajan would say something, I would be interested. And then when Tom started saying something, I would lose interest. So if that gives you a summary of how that press conference went, I want to give a special shout out. I thought Bob Wojnarowski of 97.1 absolutely stole the show, because his question, and same with others. I mean, we saw Kool-Aid there, Brandon Dent, who did a good job. Corey Woods, who's on the show, he did a great job. James Edwards, all those guys. I'm not blaming anybody, because they're asking good questions. But Bob was the first one to really like have that back and forth with Tom, and he was he brought up how there's been multiple voices in the front office, and he asked him essentially like, is this going to change? And Tom was like, he gave him a little bit of a smart alecky answer, but then Bob like followed up immediately. Usually reporters don't do that. You ask the question and then he just talks. Bob like gave him some, like he gave a little back, and then Tom kind of gave back. Yeah. And then Woj kind of followed it up with something. So shout out to Woj and I don't really listen to Woj on the radio or anything like that, but his question, I was like, damn. He came with the heat. So I do appreciate that. And I think the media in general, they asked good questions. I mean, it's hard. How are you going to, because again, you're walking on thin ice. You can't come out swinging at this press conference, because then, the entire, Tom's going to be like, okay, make sure that guy never gets the fuck back in here. All right.
Yeah, especially Tom Gores out of all people.
Yeah. So you have to watch, but I thought Woj, his question was really good. He put his feet to the fire there. But I just think Tom didn't do himself any favors by talking. I mean, it was hard, to be honest. Like, a part of me, and I don't know why I thought this way, but a part of me was like, I actually am interested to hear Tom talk. It's been a minute. Yeah. I want to hear what he has to say. And I left thinking, man, he shouldn't have said a word. Like, that's what I left. I'm like, if I was Tom, looking back now, hindsight, I would have just not said a word and been like, I'm actually not going to say anything. I'm going to let Trajan just talk the entire time, because he went on this like monologue that was a disaster. I thought some of his answers were fine, but he didn't completely answer the question. So it was just weird. But
you
again,
were just looking for like basic accountability from him. That's probably what you were just looking for. And for Woj's question, it was the best one out there, but he still kind of like duck and dodged out of the way of it. He didn't really say that, if he was making the decisions beforehand. He obviously said he's going to leave it up to Trajan moving forward. but he didn't really say that if he had a hand in it, if he had a hand in the jar in the past. So that was one thing. And I wish, I don't know, Jeff, I don't know. I kind of exited out of it after a few questions after that, but did anyone bring up like the decision with Monty Williams?
Yeah, he answered it, but again, it was word salad essentially. I mean, he did thank Troy and thanked Monty, and he did take a little bit of a shot, as I imagine. Like he complimented Trajan Langdon and how he wants like an actual leader, and it was like an indirect shot at like Troy and Monty, I think. But again, that's just me speculating. I just think from Trajan's perspective, how he handled himself, I loved it. But again, it's a press conference. Like, what are you going to do? There's a lot of work to do. I mean, I think, who was it? I think it was Corey, or I could be wrong, but someone asked about when do you see the playoffs being a thing? And he was like, no, screw the playoffs. Like, this team just needs to we just need to get some talent in here. Like he handled it very well, and he complimented the organization and the championship banners. He says, I haven't been in a place with this many banners since I was in San Antonio, which again, like, that's why we always talked about it here, fellas. Like the Pistons hold weight as an organization. Like, although it's been absolutely trashed the last decade plus, at least with Tom Gores as the owner, at least the organization isn't. I mean, they've won. They've had success. When I was way younger and even before my time. So, I am excited to see how this thing plays out with Trajan. I see Ryan's comment here. I was just like, let Trajan talk. That was me most of the time.
100%.
And he kept doing this thing with Trajan where they talked till 4 a.m. They mentioned it like 4 times, but that was
I
one
hugged him at 4 a.m., signed the contract Friday. I was like, bro, what? Like he literally said that like 4 times in a span of literally like 4 minutes.
Yeah, and he kept referring to Trajan Langdon as the CEO, and he wants him to be the CEO, which, like, again, I get what he was trying to say. I know the delivery from Tom is like a little, you're listening to him speak, you're like, oh, but I get it. You want Trajan to be your CEO. You want him to make decisions, not multiple people make decisions. It's Trajan Langdon final say. Tom, you live with it because you hired him. Like, I don't want to hear, I don't know about that, Trajan. No, like, and then he would be like, well, platinum equity, it's a very successful.
So funny.
Dude, I know.
I think that's with a lot of Pistons fans, and Jeff, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think that's the biggest problem is like Tom Gores is almost like he wears the Pistons, like owning the Pistons as like a pinky ring. Like he doesn't even care. He just likes to tell people that he owns the Detroit Pistons when he goes out and to meet up with people at parties or occasions or anything like that. Like I really do not think when you guys are talking about accountability, he fully knows what he should be accountable for. Like he's probably, oh, all right, another press conference. Let's give this one a try. Shows up. All right, answers the questions. All right, got to extend this one a little bit. Don't know what to say here. Repeat. All right, let's get out of here. Back to what we were doing. Platinum equity. Great. Yeah. Awesome. Wicked awesome type of thing. Gives me a lot of that energy.
That sounds familiar.
Gives me a lot of that energy.
I said the same thing. I said a very mellowed out version of Wicked Awesome. That's how I interpreted it. Mellowed out version. He's more softer spoken. He's a little soft spoken, but still that same energy in a way. Like I definitely agree with that. That's one thing that kind of went to my mind there. But to Steve's point, dude tried to stress to the point that him and Trajan were boys. I don't know, Mike, you heard that, I'm sure, but like he kept reiterating, like he looked over at Trajan like they were lovers. He would be like, yeah, we talked
like,
all night. He was like, he'd be like, didn't we, Trajan? We talked all night, didn't we? He'd be like, yeah, we did. I'm like, oh.
He was definitely like insecure about it. He had to like reassure himself that Trajan was that guy. But Jeff, if there was something that you could have asked today that wasn't asked, like in the press conference, that's something that someone missed,
I would say I would have asked, and I ended it with a couple minutes. So I don't know, and I didn't see the media scrum, but this is just my question that I had. And someone asked it partially, but essentially my question would be, looking at this roster, Cade seems to be a franchise talent. Do you have confidence that a Jaden Ivey, or we'll stick with Jaden Ivey, does anybody on this roster in general, or even a Jaden Ivey, if you want to point to him, have the potential to eventually live up to that type of level? Or, do you essentially think that this roster needs a lot of work? Like, what's your confidence level in this roster? Who can step up besides Cade? I want to hear a different perspective, but it's also unfair because he hasn't been here long enough to evaluate that. But that's one thing I'm dying to know, like who's going to step up, because if you don't have a running mate for Cade here already, it's going to be some time unless you can draft one this season or next. That's what this league is. You need stars, you need good coaching, but Cade can't do it on his own. We know that. So it really have to be a Jaden Ivey plays it. He turns into a star, or someone else does, or the guy you draft does. So, but someone asked him about Cade, and he likes Cade a lot. So that was nice to hear his perspective on that. Even though he's played the Pistons twice, he knows of Cade. Like, that's the type of player he is. But that would be what I would ask. Like, your confidence level in this roster besides Cade. Do you think anybody has that type of potential? And he would have did the, the president of basketball operations answer, which is, well, there's some talent here. We're still evaluating. We got to give it some time here. And then once, we get closer to the season, we'll figure more of that out. Like, I already know what he would have answered that with. He wouldn't have given me an answer, but I'm dying to know.
There's no way he wouldn't have said that Jaden Ivey's not a running mate for Cade, because that's the honest truth. And there's no way that he would have opened up and said something like that. But Jeff, there was some other news today about another Pistons player that I wanted to bring up. Mr. Isaiah Stewart seems to be on the trade market. I know.
We got an interview. We got the Gentry interview with fucking Jeff Iafrate right now, featuring the Detroit Pistons.
Well, yeah, I did see that. I did. I
just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
And I will say this:
that he's a very high quality starter around the league. So,
I will say this: I think Isaiah Stewart's services can definitely benefit another basketball team, if it is not this one. I didn't necessarily agree with the contract. I understood extending him, but the money, a little hefty. But again, it's one of those things where we talk about it all the time with sports. Like, contracts are going to always be made, and eventually that money won't look as significant. But I'm curious what they do with Isaiah. I think he's someone you should shop. Given his, I just think he's a kind of a tweener. He's built to be a 4, but he doesn't lack. He's more of a small ball 5, but he's not really a shot blocker. And you need that behind Duren. So that's confusing. Like, Nicholas Claxton's already been kind of reported that the Pistons are interested in him. He'd be a great big for the Pistons.
Yeah.
But it's tough. I think, to your point, Mike, you've never been a big fan of Isaiah Stewart. I think the fit is weird. Like, I'm open to trading him. I will say this, and we can disagree with it. I'm curious what you think. There'll be a team that wants Isaiah Stewart. Well, can we agree there?
I do think so, but I think he'll be the second piece in whatever trade it is. I think, like, if Jaden Ivey or someone gets traded, he'll be like the add-on, maybe to get a little bit more. I don't know if it'll be a trade centered around him. And if he does go to a team, he's probably, eighth, ninth man off the bench.
Oh,
if I'm being honest. He ain't no 6 man. Come on now.
He's not 6.
You got to realize these regulated minutes that you're playing with the Pistons aren't going to be the same on every other team, and you are not taking the amount of shots you're taking on the Pistons on a playoff team. So, and
no, he's not. He's not
his opportunity will be very limited. So whatever playoff team he does go to, or whatever bench he does go to, he's still going to have to go out there and be, a valuable player.
I think he can play 20 minutes a night on any team. I think he has that. Maybe that's 7th man. Can you give me 7th? Maybe 8.
No,
7th. He's a tweener. 7th, 8th.
Yeah,
okay.
That's fair.
6th man, I agree with you. He's not going to come off. He's not Nas Reed. He's going to come out for the symbols and get buckets.
Nas Reed is a dog.
He's a dog, and that's that's a different. They're different players. But I'm open, and I'm glad, again, a new face that sees this roster from an outside perspective. Like, Troy Weaver drafted Isaiah, so he's gonna feel a certain way about him, and then Trajan comes in and he's like, "Who? This guy? Like, this is Isaiah Stewart, fine player, but see you later. We'll trade him. I'm open to it." So I have no issue with it. The thing I'm curious, I see the Brandon Ingram thing, that Pistons aren't in that. There's other teams that are interested in Brandon Ingram, so that's why I said earlier, guys, the Pistons are going to get out of this. It's going to be through the draft, or it's going to be a mix of both, and Cade becoming a superstar. I mean, you're going to need a great here. This is like the checklist: great head coach, good to great, preferably great. Cade becoming, which I think he's a star. All-star teams become. You got to win a lot of games. Winning matters, I guess, with all-stars now. It just is how it works. Which whatever. So I think he's an all-star. He puts up all-star numbers, but he's got to be an all-star / superstar, maybe pushing superstar. And then you need to draft a running mate. You just do. And you need a good collection of players around them. So it's going to take some time. Like, that's why I don't think this thing can be solved in one season, one off season. Like, Malik Monk already re-signed. He's back with the Kings. Gary Trent Jr. is on the market. I would like Gary Trent. I like Gary Trent Jr.
I'm a Gary Trent Jr. fan.
Yep. Nicholas Claxton. He's great shot blocker. Drafts next Wednesday, which we'll be live for. So it starts then. You know, I mean, the process, boys, keeps starting. We're back.
I still do think you do need to go out and like get a Brandon Ingram-esque guy, like a 3-and-D. Obviously you are going to continue to build through the draft too, but like I don't think you can solely rely on that. You have to go out and get a guy. Like to hear that they're not in the Brandon Ingram sweepstakes is just disappointing. Or if they're not after a player like that, like it's disappointing. You need to go out and get another dude before Cade wants out and he loses all confidence or just totally hates playing here.
Yeah, do you think there's a point, Jeff, where like if Trajan doesn't work out, that Cade just like I'm done here?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's wearing. That's got to wear on a player. Like to have multiple.
You see that dude's face after some of the losses this year. He looked fucking pissed. He looked, defeated mentally. Like, and I'm sure maybe it's been refreshing to be able to get a new head coach and get a new general manager in there and all of that. But like, it's still going to wear on that guy every loss this year. He's still going to be, he still had all these losses under his belt. So it's going to be tough for Cade, man.
Especially when you look over in like Denver, and we've had this conversation before, but you look at Jamal Murray, and Jamal Murray's a very good NBA player, but I think him and Cade, you can argue, are very similar tiered players, and you just see the situation that he's in compared to you're at 14 wins. Instead of Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and et cetera and company, you're looking at Asor Thompson learning how to shoot three-pointers at the NBA level. You're looking at Jaden Ivey, not even know what role he's playing. Jalen Duren looks like he's going to be good, but then on the defensive side, it's And then you talk about Isaiah Stewart already. Like, there's just nothing there. Like, there's no incentive for him to stay in Detroit outside of money, but he can get that elsewhere.
That's the thing the NBA is doing now. They've adjusted. Now it's like lucrative. I mean, you want to re-sign with the team that drafted you because that super max you get an extra year and you get more money. So he's going to sign the deal, obviously. But to your point, Lucas, could he eventually one day be like, trade me? I'm not playing. Like, that happens. The NBA is a players-led league. I mean, these guys, it's not like the NFL where they'll be like, yeah, sit out. We'll just fine your ass till you come back. Like it's so it's a little different in the NBA. Players have a lot more power. So if Cade, it depends. Honestly, I won't even say Trajan. I'll say if they get another coach, like that'll be 4 coaches, right? If this coach gets fired, 4 coaches in his career. At that point, you're like, I mean, Stafford was here 12 years with the Lions. I know he didn't win anything, but eventually, like it happens. I mean, players are like, I'm sick of this. Like a new regime. Like I'm out, and he's definitely signing that deal. But that's the thing that Trajan kind of hit on too. He was talking about. I don't know if you guys. I was a little off. It was a little iffy to me when he said they kept complimenting the young talent. He kept saying that young talent. This team has a lot of young talent, and they both said that. I think Cade is talented, very talented. I think Ivy is talented. I like Asar. Duren, there's some things I'm a little, defensively, I would like it to be the player you drafted, which he's supposed to be a defensive anchor. And then that's really it. I mean, they don't have they're not loaded with young talent. Like they have a couple guys you like, but they need some work.
Marcus Sasser.
Oh, you know what?
Interest you?
I do like Marcus Sasser. I do like him
a
lot.
You like Fettuccine too. Can't forget about him.
Yeah, you know what? They do got some guys.
No, they don't. But
they do.
No, they don't.
They got guys that are
going back down that same fucking hill again.
They don't have guys. Those are a few fine role players off the bench. Probably everyone you name but Cade. Those are all bench players probably. But Jeff, so if it's not Brandon Ingram that they're going to go out to be the running mate, who do you think it's going to be? Because like you said, we kind of wanted Malik Monk, and he went back to the Kings on a pretty favorable deal. So yeah, who's going to be that guy? You need to go out and get someone. Like I seen someone put in the chat like John Collins and a few others. I'm just wondering who's out there, because I was really hoping for Brandon Ingram just to get someone out there, make the games entertaining, a guy that can go out there and get a bucket next to Cade.
I'm going to be honest. You're fishing in waters where there's no fish. There's no fish in there that you want. I'll tell you that. Zach LaVine. Could I interest you in Zach LaVine?
No.
Too much money.
No, I don't want Zach LaVine. Could I interest you in Nikola Vucevic? No, I'm
Fuck
not.
no.
No. Brandon Ingram. It's not looking like
Yeah.
they're interested in him at this point. Have not seen him being reported. So, to that question, Mike, it's tough. That's why I'm still leaning on the way, realistically, the way you're going to get out of this is through the draft and free agency surrounding the people you draft. But you got to hit on a guy like this 5th pick, or if they trade up or they trade whatever it is, this selection has to hit. Like, got to be a good pick. Like, I'm not saying it has to be Giannis, but man, it would help if it was a damn good player. That's what they need to do. And you need Ivy to really turn into a great player. I like who they hired. They brought in Fred Vincent, who was the shooting coach, the assistant coach working on guys' shots in New Orleans. And he helped Lonzo Ball. He helped Brandon Ingram. I'm hoping he can help some guys like Asar. He needs his shot tweaked. Jaden Ivey a little bit too. He could help. I like Fred Vincent. I think he's a really good coach. But man, he's not going to turn these guys into, Klay Thompson. So,
did he actually say this, Jeff?
Yeah, that was hinted at. That
he's
they
doing
were
the Troy 2.0 like he did with the Nets and traded for Joe Harris and a bunch of other guys that suck ass.
Well, ideally, it won't be Joe Harris, but maybe it could be a different player that you absorb some, because they got to spend the money. If they don't, they'll actually be penalized, however you say it, however you want to say it. But they will be in trouble. So you gotta, there's always someone that says penalized. All right. They will be in trouble. So they have to spend some money. And I think they'll spend it on free agency, and I think they will acquire someone via trade. I think it'll be someone that isn't Joe Harris. They could, I mean, this team won 14 games. They'll start, it ain't bad. You maybe get some picks in return. Like Ryan said, you take on some assets. I'm sorry. I know people are
got to be a player better than Joe Harris that can actually benefit. Yeah. And Joe Harris did absolutely nothing for us. And even the player that you were trading for, Joe Harris wasn't the Joe Harris that he was in Brooklyn, and he still couldn't play any defense. He obviously could shoot, but we already had Bohan at the time, who was a very similar player to him. Can shoot, can't play any defense. So it didn't make any sense.
Tiger Tan says, if we bring in Tobias Harris, I'm giving up on the Pistons forever. They said right now, forever.
That's fair.
I saw the Mavericks are interested. Yeah, Tobias Harris ain't fixing your problems. So, again, I know it's the answer no one wants to hear, but it's going to be a process. Hopefully with Trajan, there'll be moves where you're left scratching your head less than Troy Weaver. That's what we hope. The draft picks, you won't scratch your head as much. It's impossible to hit 100%, but come on. You're hoping this guy can make more moves
in a first round.
Yep. Like this, Coach Walk 37. Look at what the Rockets did last year with Brooks and Fred. You don't need superstars. You need system players like that. And that's what they did hit on too. I think, what did he use? Was it
Jeff? I don't know if you remember. Everyone at Woodward or our other place back in the day was ripping that Fred VanVleet contract when it first came out because of obviously the money, but the term was only like 3 to 4 years, and it lined up directly with all their young players getting a contract. And I said that they're actually going to have veterans that know how to play the game, that have been there before to learn from. So it's not even going to matter that you overpaid him, because his time there is going to be very well worth it. And then you can pay your young guys after that. And it seems to be working out pretty well for the Rockets.
It was a great move. I thought it was a lot of money for Fred, but when you're looking back at it, they could afford it. And it was a short-term deal. So it was a good move by them. And although I'm not a huge fan of Dylan Brooks, I thought he's been great for them. Yeah. He's been great for them. Culture-wise. Like, he holds guys accountable. He's that type of player. So they need, I know it sounds funny looking at it now, but man, I would love Dylan Brooks on this team. I'm sorry. I would. Because he would call people out like that. You need guys like that in the locker room. That's what Trajan did on
Draymond Green.
A lot of money, but I like Draymond. I do, but someone like that where you're calling people out. We need players like that. Cade leads in a little different way. He's a different type of leader. We need someone that's confrontational. Like, hey, yes, great. Yeah, that's another one. They mentioned culture. I know Tom mentioned grit, and everyone just ugh.
No,
You know,
You can't be doing that, man.
don't do that.
I think they said the players, they got some gritty players or something like that. I forgot the verbiage he used, but they mentioned culture, which, guys, I'm going to be honest. I know culture gets thrown around a lot, but that is so important. Like, at least they're acknowledging you need a culture in that building that's not losing, like a winning culture, which is what Trajan said. Not winning the championship, but everything you do in a game or how you practice, how you prepare is a winning formula. Like, they don't have that. They're probably ditzing around. You got Monty Williams. He's getting all this money. He don't give a shit. He's just hanging out. Troy Weaver's falling asleep in the stands. I mean, everyone's just hanging out, having fun, and nothing's getting done. Like, they need some accountability. And I think Trajan Langdon is as polite as he was. I think he's like he's a no nonsense guy. He's coached by Coach K. Like, he's from that lineage of like no bullshit. You know, like I'm curious, guys. I want to move on here. I want to spend some time to talk about the press conference. Tom, just to recap, embarrassing. I agree. Pistons fans have every right to look at that and be like,
one more thing, Jeff.
Absolutely embarrassing. Trajan Langdon I did like, but what's up, Mike?
Who's the pick at 5? Now that we're relying so heavily on the draft and you said you got to hit, who is that pick?
So this is
Who's
where
the dude, Jeff?
So for me, I did a alternate pick draft with Pistons Talk today. And we went through, he had evens, or no, he had odds, I had evens. So he picked for the Pistons. But ideally, how the board's been falling, you're looking at a couple guys. I think right now, to give you one, my favorite has been Zachary Risacher because of the fit there and what he can be. But I'll give you like 3 guys, okay? So I'll give you Zachary, which he could go earlier. I think he can go to the Spurs easily. Zachary Risacher from France. He's a forward. He's kind of what people were looking for last year when they took Ivy. 6'9", 6'10", can space the floor. I think he could go earlier, though.
Can he shoot, though?
The other player, what'd you say?
Can he shoot, though?
He can. He can.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, he can shoot. Now, a guy who you question if he can shoot is Modest Berzelis. He's got the size, 6'9", 6'10". You know, he's got a lot of things to his game that I do like. Believe he's from Chicago, actually. So he came up. He played in the G League with the Ignite. So it's interesting there with him. I think him and Duran as a front court would be intriguing. But again, he didn't shoot well last year. He shot like 27% from 3. He's not a great free throw shooter. But in high school, people were like, well, in high school, he shot 40-something%. It's like, well, of course he did. I mean, yeah, the different 3-point line with the G League. So that's the one thing, Mike. I like Modest, but the shooting you're kind of worried about. And I'm sorry, this team just needs shooting. And that's what brings me to my next player, which I would not be upset if they took. It wouldn't be a wow pick, but I would be comfortable with it. And that would be Dalton Connect, who's just an absolute scorer. Just an 3-level scorer, bucket getter. He's got some athleticism. Like, there's some things that I do like about. He's a little older, but the floor is higher. So you draft him, he's day one ready to contribute. So, and then Cody Williams is another one. Actually, Pistons Talk likes him a lot. I've watched a lot of his tape. He doesn't take a lot of threes, but again, 6'8", 3-and-D guy. That's kind of your prototypical. You know, that's what people like. You can't never have enough of those guys, 3-and-D. So Cody Williams, I'm okay with. This draft, I would say, Mike. I'm sorry to make a long story short. Kind of underwhelming a little bit. Okay. It's not filled with a ton of talent on paper. There's always going to be a guy or a couple guys that come out that are really good. So that's why I haven't narrowed it down. Last year, it felt like at the time it was like this guy or this guy. You know, we mentioned it: Keegan Murray, Benedict Mathurin, or Jay Ivey. That was like the consensus. This one, it's like it could go a couple different ways. Like, honestly, because I don't know how the first 4 picks are going to go. So it just I'm cool with those players though. Those 4. You know,
I do like Dalton. I was gonna ask too. Mr. Ray put it in here. Reed Shepherd. I've kind of seen that he might go before us, or is he gonna go? Is he actually gonna fall to us? And would that be a guy kind of having like flashbacks from former picks that kind of relate to him? But I think he was a hell of a player. But
yeah, he can shoot the hell out of the ball.
He can definitely shoot.
Yeah, he can shoot the hell out of the ball. He's not as big. I mean, Dalton Connect's like 6'6". I think Reed Shepherd's like 6'1", maybe. But he could shoot, especially for a freshman too, man. He was highly efficient. He could play some defense too. I think he had like 2.5 steals a game. So I like Reed Shepherd. That's another pick where, you know, you're like, cool, he could shoot the ball. You come in. I think Marcus Sasser is a true 2. He's really a 2 guard. So Reed Shepherd could, you know, going to have to play. They're going to have to kind of share the point guard duty there. But I like Reed Shepherd too. I don't mind it. Him with Cade, he'd be sniping. He could shoot. So the shooting, versatility, size, like that's kind of what Pistons fans should be looking for. So I'm cool with Reed Shepherd as well.
He's only 6'1" though.
Yeah, he's not the tallest guy. The Rockets, he could go to the Rockets. Rob Dillingham could go to the Rockets. So
yeah, I don't know. I liked him as a player. I don't know. I thought he was a little bit taller than 6'1". That kind of just worries me because I don't know if he would ever be a starter next to Cade, obviously at that height, and he'd probably be coming off the bench. And you already kind of have a similar player, Marcus Sasser, who's even smaller. That's just a bucket getter, can shoot the three. So I don't know. I would kind of lean for that like 3-and-D kind of bigger forward that you can go out there and shoot the ball, but I don't know.
That to me is probably Zachary, but he could be gone. So maybe Cody Williams. There again, it's Dalton Connect. I wouldn't be. He's a little taller, but he can't really defend either. I mean, but that's not what you're drafting him for. You're not drafting him to be.
I'm a little biased with him because the March Madness or whatever. The guy won me a lot of money, and he's a baller. So
absolutely,
I'm rooting for him.
Weezy D, I see this comment. Shout out to Weezy D, by the way, man. I saw him in the press conference too, the chat. He says, we all like Modest, but we don't want him because he's a tell-him client. Got to look past that. Yeah, I mean, that gets sometimes people overanalyze that sometimes. And I get why they do because of the nepotism, I guess, or I guess would be the right word maybe. But that where someone has a connection to someone, they're coming to the organization. But it's not like Modest is bad. I mean, he's going to go top 10, like I don't hate it. The only thing I would say about Modest is, can he shoot? Can he get to that 36, 37% mark for a three-point shooter? And that's what really concerns me. So that would be my only pushback with Modest. I'd like a lot of what he brings. I mean, dude's 6'9", 6'10", and he can off-ball defense. He's not an elite perimeter defender, but he's got enough size that someone gets beat, he can go up and challenge a shot. So I'm cool with Modest. I've already made that kind of clear, but yeah, this Wednesday is going to be very interesting. We're going to be covering it all on this show. I will be live during the draft reacting to it. So we'll see. Trajan might come in and be like, you know what? We're moving up. Let's go get someone. It's not if they don't think it's a deep draft, or at least guys they love, then maybe they go up and get someone. So you never know. All right, fellas. Well, I know we spent a lot of time, but it was deserved. We got a lot of stuff out from that press conference. Like I said, to recap, Tom Gores, man, holy hell. Pistons fans, yeah, buckle in your seatbelts because got a long way. Hopefully not as long as maybe you imagine in your head, but it could be that long, honestly. But PFF, that is an outlet that,
woke sports.
As Lucas calls them, woke sports. They put out their top 10 receiving corps today. And this is a collection of running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends.
Okay. I can get down with this.
Where do you believe the Lions should be ranked? Off the top of your head. I know it's a lot to take in, but wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Where in totality? Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra, Jameer, David, Jameson. Where should they be ranked in the NFL?
This isn't in order, but I think you got to put Miami in front of them. I think you got to put Kansas City in front of them. It's tough to say Houston, so I'll leave them out of the conversation just for right now. The Eagles, I could easily see being in front of them, especially now they got Saquon, because Goddard's still pretty good too. I think they should be in like the 5-6 range.
Would you agree with that, Mike?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Could say the Rams.
Well, excuse me, I had to sneeze there. This is where they rank. PFF.
At first, I did think
7.
Oh my God.
7.
Dude, this order is terrible.
So this is everyone's favorite guy from PFF, Trevor Sikkema. He's had some takes on Goff that people didn't necessarily like, but this is his top 10 receiving corps list. Again, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. He has San Francisco number 1, Miami number 2, Philly number 3, Chicago number 4, 5 the Texans, 6 the Vikings, 7 the Lions, and then 8 the Rams, 9 the Bengals, and 10 the Seahawks.
I don't understand how the
Rams. Do you have a problem with the list? We'll get to the order, but just the teams. Do you have a problem with the teams on the list? because I don't hate the teams, if I'm being honest.
I'm
I
baffled that the Chiefs aren't on here. If the fact that Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown, and Rashee Rice, I understand that they don't have a receiving threat with Isaiah Pacheco, but then you look at Jerick McKinnon, like the Chiefs should absolutely be on here. I'd put the Chiefs in over the Seahawks, especially now that they got Xavier Worthy.
I just do disagree with the order and a few of them, but like the overall list, I'm sure there is probably a team that we can't think of, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But the Lions are a little bit lower than I expected, or few teams are in front of them that I didn't expect. Rather,
I will say, and this is just a side note, we don't have to debate this. I actually think the Seahawks deserve to be on here. You look at what they got. Because this isn't quarterback. This is because that would also obviously matter. I'm not a huge Geno Smith guy, but you got DK, you got Lockett, you got JSN, which I love. I mean, you love too. You like JSN.
Yeah.
Tight end Noah Fant. They haven't used him, but he's not bad. He's had some good seasons.
He's serviceable. He's serviceable.
Kenneth Walker.
Dog.
Zach Charbonnet, which you don't really know. They used him a little bit last year towards the end, but I don't hate that. That's a good little collection of talent there.
Oh, 100%.
I'm not saying that, but I'm putting Travis Kelce and those guys in front of him. I'm sorry. I just am. I don't hate what you're saying. I just think the one that I think is the most egregious is the Vikings. Like, I understand Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison's nice, but you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think that's arguably probably the best duo in the NFL outside of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So I think if you're going to do that, because the Vikings, honestly, I feel like are so overweighted with Justin Jefferson. Like, TJ Hawkins is nice, but I think we can all agree that Sam Laporta is better than him at this point. I think it's fair to say I can understand if you want to hang on to TJ Hawkinson, but I don't think this is the year to prove it. The Vikings are a little high for me.
It's just the Bengals. Who do the Bengals have at RB now?
I was going to say, I actually will push that back
Chase
too.
Brown's nice, especially as catching the football.
Is he Aaron Jones?
No, because Aaron Jones is very nice. I don't think you can say that. Yeah. But I think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, that's a better 1-2 punch than Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson.
Okay, so I'll say this. Let's do trio. Let's take out the running back because we already agreed that Aaron Jones is better than Chase Brown. TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. So you have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Who's their tight end?
Trying to think. They just signed one, I think. Or no, they didn't sign one. They got a new one in there. I can't think of who it is off the top of my head. A Joe Schmo, a Jag.
So do you see why collectively they rank higher?
Yeah, but I'm just not doing it. I'm still taking the Bengals. Taking them. I'm still taking them. I think you get more production out of them.
They got Gesicki. He's actually not bad. I like Gesicki.
Hey, and you know who else they have? They have Eric All. They drafted him.
Oh, God.
Charlie
Jones. Don't sleep on Charlie Jones, Jeff.
I do like Charlie Jones. I'm gonna be honest.
But I agree with you. As of like right now, I guess you do have a point. The Vikings 3-headed. I'm with you.
That's because that's what they're doing. You're thinking wide receiver core, which I 100% agree with you. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are they're absolute beasts. But they're factoring out. But the Lions, we'll get to Lions. All right. So they have the Vikings ahead of them, Texans, Bears, Eagles, Dolphins, 49ers. So, okay, Vikings. I mean, really, Jordan Addison's like the hanging on because like he's better than J-Mo right now, but like Jefferson too. But
Jordan Addison's a good wide receiver.
I will give him that. I will give them that.
He's good.
I will give them.
It wasn't a fluke.
What about Jameer though? You like Jameer?
Yeah, you got Jameer. You know I love Jameer, but we just got to talk about Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is one of the best receiving threats in the league. So the more I think about it, the Vikings, yes, they deserve to be up there. I just don't like looking at it like that, especially like when you see the Bears 2 spots in front of them too. Texans is hard to argue, man. It's really hard to argue that. I just want to see what Stephon Diggs could be there because I'm not guaranteeing it, but I think there is some part of me that could see this Texans team just absolutely fall on their face. And just because we've seen shows like this happen before where teams they get the band together, they go make a run at it, and then it doesn't pan out just because there's no chemistry there. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case because I like DeMeco Ryans. I like CJ Stroud. But when you have so many pieces on an offense, it's hard to get all those guys the ball, especially when you're talking about AFC South, which can be a competitive division, I think. Muted.
I got you.
My bad. We would agree. We all agree that the Texans are. I mean, on paper, we'll give them the edge. I mean, they have a lot of talent there. The Bears, Swift isn't even close, in my opinion, to what they have. Their running back room is not close to the Lions, so they have the far advantage there. Wide receiver, they have a trio of wide receivers, so like that's hard to argue too, because you just have Amon-Ra. J-Mo hasn't really proven himself yet.
They got a good tight end, but he ain't Sam Laporta. Komet ain't Sam Laporta.
So that's why it's hard. Because again, this is just trios. This isn't, or like I guess not trios because they're
it's basically your offensive roster besides lineman and quarterback.
Yeah, which that's like a big, and that's what the Lions are.
Yeah,
they got the advantage in both those areas. But Keenan Allen, yeah, you can't really. It's hard to argue that. But we agree, Sam Laporta is better than Cole Kmet, and the running back room is better. So it is what it is. The Eagles. Yeah, I mean Saquon, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith. It's hard to kind of sit there.
Goddard too.
Dallas Goedert's really good. Miami, yeah, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. I think that's really what makes it to me.
Yeah,
I mean, that's end of story.
I mean, even A-Chain and Mostert out of the backfield too. They're pretty.
Yeah, they're a good back. They're a good back duo. I don't know who they have at tight end. They let Gesicki go, so I don't know. But who cares?
Who is their tight end?
Yeah, I can't remember. And the 49ers, they do. I don't. Yeah, I guess you can give them one.
Smith.
Who?
Smith.
Jonnu Smith. They got Jonnu.
Oh, okay. Not a bad pick. Not a bad pick.
Who has more receiving yards at the end of the year?
Oh, yeah, they have OBJ too.
They have OBJ.
Yeah, I always forget they signed OBJ.
Jonnu Smith, veteran. Obviously, he was a favorite on that team. Absolutely. I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't really hate who's in front of the Lions.
I hate looking at the Vikings. I hate looking at it, but yeah, I guess you guys are a little bit. You're onto something there. It's just I don't like looking at it.
I'm going to be honest, and I give Trevor Sycamore when he's wrong. I'll call him out. He said some bad things about Goff I didn't agree with, but I don't hate this list. I'm going to be honest. I actually think, and this is probably a tough list to try and come together with from nothing, from scratch, but I don't hate this. But does this have any cause for concern? And at least at offensive weapons, they're seventh. Is that? I guess it's not really the best part of their team. I mean, it's the offensive line. You know, they have other things, but.
Yeah, they're a run-first team. Like, you don't see the Baltimore Ravens on here. People think that the Baltimore Ravens can make it to the Super Bowl every year. If you're a run-first team, and this was a top 10 running backs, and the Lions aren't on here with the running back duo, then yeah, there's some reason to be concerned. But this team is built off the play-action game. It's built off the offensive line, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. And when you have a top 10 receiving core unit outside of it, that's great balance.
Oh, Lucas said it best. I agree.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Wheezy D says my sleeper this year is Treylon Burks. Well,
that's Booner's burner right there.
It's this guy too. Don't let him get away with it. I'm Lukas Klotz.
Treylon Burks is a wide receiver 3 on a rookie contract. Yeah, give me it. You're paying like
drafted to be a wide receiver 1. He just never was and never will.
Never will. All right, keep that same energy with Mr. Williams.
Oh, you like him. We all like him.
I like it. Treylon Burks is a guy I like, yeah. He's been dealt a shitty hand. He has.
Oh. Yeah.
He has, bro, and he's taken some nasty hits. Like, he's been laid out to die sometimes in these games.
Well, speaking of J-Mo.
Some wide receiver help alongside him now. So maybe as wide receiver 3, he can make some noise. You know, you got Will throwing him the rock again.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know, but still not counting that. We'll see.
He'll make some noise. It's gonna be one of those things. You're like, did you hear that? Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things. Ain't gonna make a lot of noise. I'm not talking about. This is like a tree falling at midnight in the woods. Like, you know, you just barely. No one's gonna hear that. No, I mean that's what Treylon Burks is doing.
That tree's gonna be scoring tutties.
Well. Someone who has been scoring tutties is George Pickens, and 33rd team did a redraft of the 2022 NFL draft, and they did picks 9 through 16. The Lions picked Jameson Williams at 12. they did a redraft, and they had them taken George Pickens. Well, Garrett Wilson still went to the Jets. Olave still went to the Saints. Deron Bland, obviously, he rises here and goes 13. Drake London goes 14 to the Baltimore Ravens. I think they still would have taken Kyle Hamilton, though.
That's what I was going to ask. Did he get picked before that?
Yeah, he did. I think he got picked like 9th or 10th.
Oh, never mind. Never mind then. Breece Hall, yeah, well, okay. Martin, okay, who cares? At 12, the Lions take George Pickens. And it brings up a interesting convo to revisit that draft that George Pickens was a option early second for the Lions. And I think George Pickens, I will say this about George Pickens. I think George Pickens is on his way to being he's already a very good player, but he's got a lot more potential. I mean, he caught like 60 balls for like 1,300 yards. So like, what if he catches 80? What is this guy doing? That's why he had like 18 yards per catch or something like that. And that was with Kenny Pickett. So I think George Pickens is a very good player. And hindsight is always 2020 because Jamo's been suspended and hurt and he hasn't been on the field as much. Then when he was, the offense was already a well-oiled machine. He's got to work himself into the playbook. But I think Jamo, in terms of what he can bring to the table at his best, to me, I'm still intrigued by that. And that's why, like, hindsight, guys, like, yeah, who wouldn't want George Pickens? But at the time, come on. At the time, we knew Jamo was that dude. I mean, we all saw it. We all saw it. No. Oh, because he shoved the guy on a run play. Come on, relax.
No.
Yeah,
come on, Gentry, you go.
I still think, obviously, in the time being, I would have still picked Jabo because he still was that guy out of college. But George Pickens is a really good wide receiver, and I don't think he would have ever been picked at that place, obviously. But I'm still confident Jamo can still break out and be the wide receiver that we hope to be. And you never know that if Pickens was the right fit and what they were looking for at wide receiver, or if he was a fit for the locker room, and if he was truly, like someone said in the comments, a Dan Campbell guy. So I still think Pickens is a great wide receiver. In hindsight, 2020, like Jeff said, yeah, maybe. But I'm still confident that Jamo can break out and be the wide receiver that we need him to be.
I'll be the lone wolf here. And this does not mean I do not like Jamo. You guys know how I like X wide receivers. You guys know how I like big wide receivers. You can stretch the field vertically, and that's what the Lions need. What is Jamo ultimately? A deep threat. Now, Jamo runs as fast as a track star, so that's why he was a first-round pick. But George Pickens coming out of college, he was extremely raw. He had those attitude issues. And when you go to Pittsburgh, I'm sorry, they're not going to be fixed there. I think when you look at Antonio Brown, you look at Le'Veon Bell, there's been numerous cases in Pittsburgh. Guys just have attitudes. It's not the same culture there. So if he was picked in Detroit, which the attitude probably was a reason that they decided not to sit at 32 and take him and move up and get Jamo, he doesn't have that stuff. George Pickens, I've said it once, I said it twice. He has the ability, in my opinion, to be a mini DeAndre Hopkins. I think if you look at his ability to high point the football, his ability to know where he's at on the field and keep his feet in bounds, his body control, and he can even run after the catch. You look at the game against the Browns, he single-handedly kept them in the game. George Pickens do everything, and especially blocking. I know people can laugh at it, and Jamo does do it well, but I think George Pickens, given his frame and his strength, he can take it to a whole nother level. I think George Pickens is a perfect fit for this offense, especially what they need. But with all that said, I'm still happy Jameson Williams is part of the Lions. I just think if you're asking me, would you rather have Jameson Williams at 12 or George Pickens at 32? I would have been telling you George Pickens at 32.
Here's the thing. Like, I don't think anyone would argue who's the better player. Obviously, George Pickens. And if you revisit, like George Pickens on this team right now would be amazing. But at the time, so you were a George Pickens.
That was the Leggett of the draft for me. That was my Leggett of 2022.
The attitude stuff got me a little worried. I didn't know he'd pan out like this, obviously, but seeing him at Georgia, like you said, he was talented. I just thought in terms of a culture fit, I was like, I don't know. I didn't know he'd be there. If I'm being honest. I did not know.
Even though he's panned out as a player, he still has taken plays off, and maybe that's rightfully so due to some of the play calling that the Steelers had. But one thing I can guarantee, even with or without getting the ball, you're never going to see Jamo taking a play off. And you've seen it last season, him running down the field, making blocks and he necessarily wasn't getting the opportunities that he wanted receiving wise, but he was still going out there and doing his job, and he wasn't throwing a hissy fit at the goal line, not blocking for his running back. So,
but when I say this, I don't want to make it seem like you guys are wrong, but you even look at like Deontay Johnson too. You look at Chase Claypool. Like, you just look at the history of the Steelers team, the culture there. Mike Tomlin, great coach. And another reason why he's such a great coach, that locker room's a mess half the time. So I feel like when you talk about a culture, it's a lot easier for George Pickens, who already has a little bit of attitude issues, just to fall right back into that situation. If he's in a situation where you got Penei Sewell, you got Aiden Hutchinson, you got Alex Anzalone, David Montgomery, you're going to be like, oh, okay, this is how a professional is supposed to act. I don't think there's a lot of that in Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, I think Mike Tomlin, even though he is he's a great coach, he does let wide receivers be themselves.
Players in general.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what got him success. Like, when early on, especially with like Troy Polamalu. Troy Polamalu wasn't a guy that said, "Hey, go play cover 3, just cover your zone." Troy Polamalu was a guy that you just had to let roam the field. When you look at Ike Taylor, all those guys, you just let them make plays. So I think, especially as a defensive coach, that's probably just the culture he has. He likes the guys make plays, but there's a point where it's just like, you're the head coach of this football team. There needs to be a standard set, and you can see consistently that it's the standard's not always being driven to how it's supposed to be.
If JMO can have the type of production that George Pickens has, then yeah, that's how you justify being selected. But here's the thing. I don't know if he will, because of what's happened around him. Like, I don't think anybody, because this was he was drafted when Amon-Ra, was that after his rookie year? Or was that after? So yeah, Amon-Ra had 900 yards. I think people were making comparisons. Who's I can't think of at the top of my head, the biggest comparison people were making to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Pittsburgh wide receiver.
Hines Ward.
Yep, Hines Ward. Thank you. So no one imagined that Amon-Ra would be this, an all-pro, 1,500 yards. We knew he worked his ass off. That was obvious, but no one saw this. No one knew that you'd get Sam Laporta, who's a top 3, top 2 tight end in the league. So for JMO, unfortunately, that's how the NFL works. It's not for long. That's what it stands for, and that's what happens. He has things that happen off the field, and I love JMO, but I mean, getting suspended. His first year basically was a scratch because he was injured, and now he's trying to fit into an offense that's doing well without him, and that's what's tough. I think a successful living up to 12 is tough, but at least getting what you drafted would be a really good wide receiver 2, maybe like a Devonta Smith, or maybe he gets 1,000 yards 1 year. But again, you have Sam Laporta, who's a 1,000-yard tight end. So I don't know if he'll ever have that type of production, that 1,300-yard season, unless he goes somewhere else, to be honest with you. Doesn't mean he can't be very good. I don't want to trade JMO, but I'm just being honest, given what they have.
Yeah, he doesn't need to live up to your point. He doesn't need to live up to being the number 12 pick. He needs to live up to being the wide receiver 2 of the Detroit Lions and getting in the correct spot and improving on the right things to help Jared Goff and this offense move when they can't go to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta or run the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. He's just got to be that extra element because he can do it through the air and on the ground. So he's a player that can be valuable. But to your point, knock on wood, unless something happens to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, I don't think will ever live up to that number 12 overall pick. But at the same time, this was a guy who, I don't know if you can necessarily blame that on him. He was drafted on a torn ACL, didn't miss his whole rookie year. You knew that was going to happen. So there's a lot of questions about JMO. It was a big risk pick, but I don't think it's a pick that's going to be falling on its face. And we just need to drop the 12th overall pick thing. It's just any players. Like, he's 3 years into his career at this point. Like, what it is, accept it, move on, and realize that he's still a good player for this football team.
Yeah, that's why we've all been high. I mean, Mike's been hammering the JMO stuff for a while now, and I think the thing we have to take into account, and to your point, Lucas, is people get so obsessed with where a player's drafted, but we have to add in context. Like, if you didn't have an Amon-Ra on this team and JMO is what he is now, then yeah, you have every right to be frustrated. But given what's happened, it's like, if you get a really good wide receiver too, like, you're happy, at this point. Like, you have Amon-Ra. That's your de facto number 1. He's gonna put the team on his back at times. That's just how it works.
I think there would be much more concern for this offense too if Jameson Williams wasn't on this roster either. Like, the people that were just like, all right, right off JMO. Like, if JMO wasn't here, I think you'd be really questioning this offense outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta in the passing game. How much success could Jared Goff have? Because even when J-Mo doesn't get the ball, people laugh at it all the time, but he's helping those guys out so much because just when he's on the field, the safeties have to acknowledge him in the line, and they're just how they line up, and they got to back up an extra 2 to 3 yards. Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they dominate the middle of the field. That helps them naturally.
Did you see this, boys? Steve Lehman, shout out to Barry, had a health scare with his heart. Get well, Barry. On Father's Day, he had I think he said a heart attack.
See that.
Health scare with his heart.
Hey,
Barry.
Prayers out to him.
We can't lose. We ain't losing Barry. Nope.
Protect him at all costs.
Yeah, give him the best health care in the entire
I'll give
country.
him my heart. I'll give him my heart.
You can have it. Yeah, I don't hate that. That guy up north says, okay, so I'm sure I missed the explanation. What WTF happened to Jeff's hair? My girlfriend just asked if he was trying to copy that guy, pointing to Lucas. Let me be honest with you, right?
No.
I've been friends with Lucas for a long time now. And I look up to Lucas. So, I just want to, he's so smart at football. He's got everything.
Oh, God. I don't like the way this sounds. I don't like the way, I thought you were hyping me up for a second, but now I don't like the way this is sounding.
Just a great guy, type of guy you want your daughter to date.
Oh,
so
God.
I am copying Lucas. No, in all seriousness,
I don't know about that.
God.
In all seriousness, it's hot as hell. I've thought about this for a while. I explained it earlier. I got my head cut short when I lost that bet, but it was done by Lady Jane's. And now I had to get it. I had to go to my barber, who actually specializes in making me look as good as
cutting hair.
So he did a great job, and I'm happy with it. I saw the photo of when I got my hair short. In January? I looked miserable. I was like, dude, screw this. But yes, it's hot. I'm sweating out, man. The hair's falling. Screw all that, man. Now, I'm with Lucas now. So
it's only a matter of time till Gentry, you got the beard. Got the tats. A fade would look clean on you.
I've always had my hair short. I haven't had my hair this long since I was younger.
Yeah, you did. When I first met you, you did just have it short.
I did. I always had the buzz. I used to get my hair cut once a week, but we
can never let Booner get one, boys.
No,
I love Boone,
yeah.
And I think Boone even knows that. Boone can keep rocking the mullet. Fade ain't doing it on him.
Tyler says Jeff looking like Eminem's stunt double for the Houdini music video. No, that's Lucas.
You get all the Sid jokes, counts. You get all the 8 Mile jokes. It's all you, Rabbit. You know how many times I've been called Rabbit in the chat?
Yeah, yeah. It's like it sits in your head. You remember? It's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very fair. Well, fellas. I want to transition here because it brings us to Jared Goff, Colin Cowherd, and we're going to get to our over-under segment. We do it every Friday, and Gentry hooks us up with all the lines, and we go through it. We play the nice music in the background, and we do some over-unders, which we'll get to. But did you see Colin Cowherd yesterday on Jared Goff? Because he,
on his personal podcast?
No. Well, he reiterated it on his personal podcast, but the best, thorough deep dive was on his show, and he's been a big Jared Goff guy, huge Jared Goff guy. He's defended him for a while, but then all of a sudden he got paid, and then Colin was a little ooh, he wasn't a huge fan of the contract.
Switched up.
So he did this deep dive, which I do love. I love when not just Colin, but people do that. It's interesting, especially in June. And he did a deep dive of the last 10 plus year Super Bowl winners at quarterback, and what he found was it was either Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or guys on rookie deals. And there were some Nick Foles was the exception. So if you want to go off that, you can. I think he even went back. Joe Flacco was another one, but again, it's those things to me. There's always anomalies, or the exception to the rule. So, but for the most part, it was those two things: rookie guys on rookie contracts, or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, essentially. And he did his rankings of guys he believes are still Super Bowl caliber quarterbacks, and he gave his thoughts on Goff. So I'm going to play this clip, and let's react to what he said, because I'll just let him kind of break that down, because I thought he even though we may disagree, but let's hear what he had to say here. It's about a minute long. and we'll hear his thoughts on Jared Goff. So let me get this clip up, and then we'll break it down. But here's the clip. Let's get to it.
There are only 12 quarterbacks that are in the Super Bowl bubble this year. And I'll give you those 12 quarterbacks. The upper echelon guys who are really all-time elite arm talents, and I think you know who they are. We can put them on the screen.
Yep.
Josh Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Patrick, Aaron, and Matt Stafford. I'll keep Lamar on, though he struggled in the playoffs. He wins 77% of his games. And I think Aaron Rodgers, though he's old with that defense, Aaron still, when he lets go of that football, it doesn't look like almost anybody else on the planet. So those teams are in the Super Bowl bubble. And then the other 6, these are 6 really good quarterbacks, and they're not getting paid yet. I consider them very talented and not getting paid. Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and C.J. Stroud. I think Purdy's the least talented, but he's talented enough, and he's not making a nickel. And that's it. Now, who's not on that list? Jared Goff, who I think's really good, but not in the top 6, and really, really expensive.
So that's what he said. He called, and now he said, like Jared, really expensive, and he's not in the top 6. And he discussed this on his podcast with John Middlecoff, who I love, former scout. And John put it like this, and I want to know if you guys agree with this. This is what John said, because him and Colin talked about this. And I want your guys' thoughts on this. John said, I think their window is still open, but he thinks that as years go by, when you need to pay players, Goff's contract's gonna hurt them more. So he thinks the window's there, but short term. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree for an instance. I just can't keep up with Colin Cowherd, and I feel like every other week during the season and towards the end of the year, he was switching up on Goff, hopping on the bandwagon, hopping on it, or hopping off. And I did see Etienne pointed it out too, but a few players that he listed, QBs on cheap contracts, already got paid. I seen Trevor Lawrence up there. He mentioned Jalen Hurts. So, like, that's what I'm not confused with. I still think Goff isn't in that second tier of QBs that he listed. I do agree maybe down the line the contract will affect them a little bit, but they still have the money that they're going to go out and pay their guys. And the way that Brad Holmes has been drafting consistently year in and year out, he's still going to be able to reload the roster. So I don't know if I would say that their window is, closing with the Goff contract as it moves on, because Brad Holmes has been so good at recouping this team thus far. So, and he is in that second tier, and he's not overpaid in a sense when you look at those other contracts like I brought up. So
my thing is just like, why do we put so much on how a quarterback's getting paid if the team is still financially flexible? If the team still has moves that they can make, even though they just re-signed their quarterback, and it's a damn good quarterback in Jared Goff, not an elite quarterback, but a damn good quarterback in Jared Goff, I don't know why there's this cause for concern. If they were maxed out and in the negative like the New Orleans Saints were during their last tenure of Drew Brees and they were ring chasing, I'd get it. But when you look at this team, how they're contractually made up, this team is perfectly fine. And I don't think there's been many situations around the NFL, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, that have been like this. If you look at the Tom Brady's, and Jared Goff is not Tom Brady, what was he doing? He's constantly taking pay cuts because the team was about to get maxed out financially. They had to re-sign Gronk. They had to bring in Randy Moss. They did all these things to help Tom Brady out, which they should have. I'm not saying that. But the Lions are doing that on rookie contracts, on trades for Carlton Davis, who's a one-year deal. Brad Holmes sees this graph. Brad Holmes knows all about the things that Colin Cowherd is saying. He's like, yeah, that's cute, but I'm still going to find a way to make it work. Some people, especially when it's like Brad Holmes and he's damn good at it, find a way to make shit work. And I think that's exactly what's happening in Detroit, regardless if Jared Goff is playing on this money that he is right now. When you look at it, I understand Trevor Lawrence still on his rookie deal, but you can't tell me that you think Trevor Lawrence has a better chance of winning a Super Bowl than Jared Goff based off his financials, because I think right now as a player, Jared Goff is still better than Trevor Lawrence.
Well, here's the and I'll give more context to this. Okay, so he had Hurts and Lawrence on there, and people are like, well, they both got paid. Let me explain that line of thinking. So Jalen Hurts, his cap number, which is, I guess, the hit this year in 2024 is $13.5 million, which is 5.2% of the cap. The following season in 2025, it's $21 million. The next season, it's $31 million. Now, in 2029, there's a $90 million cap hit. So like it's restructured basically. You know how teams are restructuring. Okay. And then you look at Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has a $15 million cap hit this season, 17 the next season, 24 million the next season. Jared Goff this upcoming season is a $27 million cap hit, which, it's fine. I think that's his contract this year. The next year is 32 and the next year is 69 million. So, and the cap's going up obviously. So what I'll say is this on this part of it. Restructuring contracts is a big reason why teams are able to do this. And I think Brad Holmes understands that too. You have to, even, when Tua gets paid and these quarterbacks get paid and all these, and Patrick Mahomes has done this, right? Remember Patrick Mahomes signed a big deal and he's restructured a bunch and now he's like not even top 7 in the highest paid quarterbacks. So I get the point he was trying to make, but you look at Jared's cap hit, the next 2 seasons, this season's 10.6% of the cap. The next season's 12.5% of the cap, and then it goes to 24%. So we have a 2-year window of what it is now, which is fine. They're going to be okay. Going further down, you're going to have to work some things in there, whether it's converting things to a signing bonus or, there's things that Brad's going to have to work out. Their window is open the next couple of years. We have to understand this, though, with just the NFL in general. It's built for teams not to have windows that are open forever. That is just part of the game. You have to adjust. You're not going to be able to keep everybody. And I feel like I have to keep reiterating this, not to Lions fans, but to more national media, even though they're not listening. But I'm going to keep saying it. You have Brad Holmes who hits at a high rate in the draft. So that's going to save you a little bit here because you can replace players that you can't pay. Obviously, quarterback's the most important position in football. You're going to pay Jared. You have to do it smart, which, again, even though I didn't necessarily agree with the years, the money, looking at the math and the numbers, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. When you look at the next couple of years, the cap's going to go up and Brad Holmes will have the ability to restructure and find ways to save some money. Doesn't mean, you could keep everybody, but we know that. I mean, you don't think they think about that? You're going to have to pay Aiden Hutchinson. Will you be able to pay Lee McNeil? I don't know. Hopefully. But again, that comes with this comes with the NFL. You're going to lose players. That's why you want a guy in the front office as your general manager that can identify talent at a high level. And you have that with Brad Holmes, fellas. But that was my takeaway is some of these guys looking at the cap hit, it's low, like Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence. Jared Goff, you have 2 seasons of a relatively low cap hit, and further down the line, Brad Holmes, he's going to have to find a way to maneuver, which, again, I think he knows that just as much as we do. That's just what comes with the territory there. He has a no trade clause, so you're going to be forced to maneuver. You can't just trade him, So they'll be all right. Their window's open for a couple of years, and then we'll see how the drafts pan out because it could be open longer. But I don't want, just because you're not saying the window's open for the rest of Jared's career or it's open for a decade plus, like that's not always the case with most teams. There's always a bill you got to pay. Like the Jalen Hurts thing. They're going to have to pay. They're pushing it back, but it's going to hit the doorstep one day.
That's what I was going to say. Because
the bill is due. Rent's due eventually.
Yeah.
They gave all their wide receivers a bag. So you could say that their timeline is this year because once Jalen Hurts starts in 3 years, that extra year that, he was talking about from Goff, like, it doesn't make sense. Colin Cowherd shit never adds up. It never correlates from the last thing he said fucking a week ago. So
with the Eagles, I think you can watch their downfall because I know Jason Kelsey's there, but Lane Johnson, I think, is the glue holding that roster together just because he is playing at such an elite level protecting Hurts. But once they don't have as much protection for him and they can't be re-signing people, they're going to be in trouble because I know Howie drafts well, but at some point it's just like players are going to start leaving left and right.
And that's something that I see here. I mean, Jeff Olson, not all players are easily replaced. What does this O-line look like after the next 2 years? Well, you're going to have to find a replacement for some players. Now, you have Penei Sewell, who's the best tackle, best offensive lineman, I believe, in football. So that's good. You already have an advantage there. But, like, to his point, like, Frank Ragnow, he's not going to play forever. So you're going to have to find it, and that money's going to be freed up. Taylor Decker, maybe they extend him. Graham's for Kevin a couple of years. You hope Kevin Zeitler, another one, yeah. So you're going to we haven't really seen Brad draft a lot of offensive linemen, so that's going to have to be something that he's going to have to dabble in. You got to start finding more replacements. They got a couple now, they do. Gio and and Colby they got, and they drafted Panay, obviously. But you're hoping those guys can develop, or else they're going to have to draft another one. But offensive line is hard to hit on in general. I mean, you look around the league, there's not too many elite offensive lines. I think that the Lions have one. Eagles are up there. I'm forgetting someone. Who's a pretty good offensive line you guys can think of?
I mean, the Cowboys still have a solid one. They're not great. They diminish quick. Like, a lot of times it's usually like their great offensive line for 2 or 3 years. The 49ers had a great offensive line for the last 3 years. So up until last season, they kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Cowboys are going through the same thing right now. Offensive Chiefs, they had problems this year. I mean, they used to have a loaded offensive line. The Packers used to have loaded offensive lines, but it changes. Every year it's a different team.
And with that,
the Browns, they used to have a nice one.
Yeah, that's another one. So again, I get what he was trying to do, but I think the Lions, it's just an honest truth that I think Lions fans know and accept. And that's why people love Brad so much, because of what he brings to the table, and he allows you a lot more flexibility. So, they'll be all right. What are you laughing at?
The Joe Cox,
we have a superstar in the fucking chat right now. Joe Cox, former Georgia quarterback or backup quarterback. Every QB without no line is garbage. You Rams casuals. Speaking the truth.
Yeah, he is
Joe
right.
Cox. It's funny.
Yeah, it's like both things can be true. Well, Jared Goff's only good because of his O-line. Well, yeah, if a quarterback had that O-line, they would be much better. Like, that's not a shocking thing to say. It's not like a knock. But he again, with this play style, he doesn't need to be protected. And for the next couple of years, they're going to have this offensive line. If they extend Decker, we'll see. And Zeitler, I think Zeitler's only a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't even be surprised if he just retired after this year. This is last season. He's been chasing a ring with the Ravens. Didn't work out. Tried with Detroit. If it works out, great. Retire. If it doesn't, I've gave it a run so many times. Because he hasn't really been on that many bad teams outside of the Giants, who were mid. Like, when he was in Cleveland, that's when they were a good team. Supposed to be, at least with Baker, right. OBJ, and Jarvis.
Wilson says Stafford played 12 seasons without a single Pro Bowl offensive lineman.
Larry Walford. Don't hate now. Larry Walford, fine Pro Bowl guard. Don't hate on him. Taylor Decker was too. Taylor Decker was a Pro Bowl tackle.
Yeah, he was.
Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley, Darius Slay, Glover Quinn. The man never had any talent in Detroit. Never was the case. Never.
How long did they have those guys together?
For which one? You can go through many regimes where they had talent all over the place, 11-win teams.
You just name. How long was that team together?
So we can go down the first one with Nick Fairley, Ndamukong Suh, Cliff Averill, Kyle Vandenbosch, Stephen Tulloch, DeAndre Levy. They would probably have, at that point, Chris Houston was a corner. And the safeties, that was probably Louis Delmas back there. Issa Abdul Quddus was taking some reps. They had probably a top 5 defense when Jim Schwartz was there. Kelvin Johnson, some really good pieces. Nate Burleson, and you know what they got? 0 division titles.
Yeah,
0.
Yeah. No. What's
Mitch Trubisky made more of a playoff impact in his time with the Bears than Matthew Stafford did with the Detroit Lions. Case Keenum with the Minnesota Vikings.
Difference in organizations at the time, for sure.
One game.
I'll say. What did Jim Schwartz do after he was the head coach of the Lions? Did he ever coach another team? Head coach?
No. Should though. He should be a head coach. Somewhere.
I wouldn't hire him.
I would. I'd have Jim Schwartz running me out of as a player.
As a defensive coordinator, absolutely.
Before this stunt with the Lions, he was by far, that was like the best days of being a Detroit Lions fan when Jim Schwartz was head coach.
When he chased Jim Harbaugh, that's
that's like the play. That was Ndamukong Suh's head coach. There's not a better fit.
Yeah. He's a hell of a dude. I will say defensively that dude is legit. Us is legit, Mike, every Friday because he delivers these lines to us, Mike. And I want to get this started because last week we did wide receivers, running backs, quarterback.
Yeah.
What was it?
Every week.
What are we doing?
RBs, wide receivers.
Line, Mike? What's the line?
All right. So, Lucas, I always give you the gesture of picking. What are we starting with? RBs, wide receivers, QBs? What are we doing?
We'll start with the same ones every time when you come to me with that. Wide receivers every time. Every time, Gentry. Get used to it.
All right. Our first one, we're going to go. We talked about him a little bit. Devontae Smith is set at 950. Over under 950 for Devontae Smith.
I'm pretty sure he how many yards did he have last year? Because the thing with Devontae, he's one of those wide receivers, giving you a wide receiver 2 that'll have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns one game and 3 catches for 17 yards the next. But I'm going to go under just because I think he had good production last year, but Saquon Barkley going to be there. I think he's going to have a lot of production in the receiving game. Dallas Goedert coming back. Hopefully he's going to be playing a full healthy season. So Devontae Smith, I'm going to see him as God damn it, no. He's going to be 1,000 yards. I just said all that, but then it's just no. Devontae Smith is a 1,000-yard wide receiver. I don't see him getting 900 yards. No. Nope. 1,000 yards. Over.
Is he still 115 pounds?
No, let's relax here. He won a Heisman at 115 pounds. That man he's small, but he plays like he's 6'4".
Dog.
Tough ass mofo.
Got that dog in him.
Routes, great hands.
Not arguing the skill set. Hey, is he still 100?
How many? Devontae Smith, he gets banged up a little bit, but he's pretty consistent at staying healthy.
I'm gonna go over.
That's a deep shot.
Yeah, to talk shit. I'm gonna go over.
See, I built you up. I pulled you in, and then I just said, "Okay, we're good." I'll go over. I think I love Devonta Smith. I think him and Jalen Hurts, that chemistry's already building. The AJ Brown stuff, he got an extension, right? This offseason, I believe. So,
yeah, both of them did, I'm pretty sure. Devontae might have been last year, but they've both been extended.
No, you're right. I think Devontae was this year. I think you're right.
Yeah.
They both did. So, he's a good, very good wide receiver too. He could be a wide receiver 1 somewhere else. So, I'm gonna go with the over. I think AJ Brown can miss a couple games, and Devontae goes in there.
I do agree. I still think that's a pretty low line for Devontae Smith, the caliber of player that he is. I think the Eagles still have a bounce back season. I think their offense hits the ground running with Saquon. So I think 950, it's going over.
Hey, Jeff, you know who's that OC too?
Oh,
Kellen Moore, baby. Kellen Moore.
Yeah, they don't love to run, and he never runs the ball. So that's great.
All right, so the next one.
They're going to be throwing it all over. But what's up, Mike? What do you got?
The next one, Malik Neighbors at 850.
Oh.
The quarterback situation.
Thing is, I already know what I'm going to – this is going to be under, but Malik Neighbors, I know we talk about Marv, and Marv is, in my opinion, the better receiver, but Malik Neighbors is a guy that as a rookie could put up 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 yards somewhere. That dude's a freak of fucking nature, and it's a crime that he got drafted to the Giants, but unfortunately, he's just going to be one of those guys that I think at the beginning, I could see him having – I think he's going to have a career like Andre Johnson, especially with how they play the game, where he's just going to be – having David Carr throw him the football, but he's just going to be an obvious stud. But production-wise, there's not much that he can do to help himself.
What are you thinking here, Jeffrey?
You know what? You look at last year, Daniel Jones, he played 6 games.
Yep.
Darius
your
Slayton,
boy. No, your boy came in, though.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Tommy.
Yep. And he made some things happen. I think you look at what they did, okay? My point where I was going with this is Daniel Jones played in 6 games. They had Tommy DeVito in. They had Tyrod Taylor. They had 3 different quarterbacks. And Darius Slayton had 770. I think Malik Neighbors is far more talented. And if they have some rapport with Daniel Jones and he can actually stay healthy, I think they're going to feed him. They're going to give him a lot of targets. So I'm going to go over. I think he gets 1,000 yards this year. They probably win 4 games, but they're going to be down in a lot of games. They're going to be throwing the ball. Singletary ain't moving the chains for me. So I'm going to go over.
Literally and physically.
He's going to be a bright spot on the Giants. So give me the over. I'm Malik Neighbors.
I do like the over as well. I don't think it's that much given he is probably like the only receiving threat that they have. And, he's their wide receiver 1, and I think they will be chasing in a lot of games. So he's going to be required to get the ball. So I think he'll go over. As long as he stays healthy, he's going over this, in my opinion. But the next one I am going to do is Brandon Ayuk is set at 1,000 yards flat. Brandon Ayuk. Who knows if he's even on the 49ers?
He had like 1,400 last year. Yeah,
I feel like this line is low.
Yeah, I mean, even if he stays in San Fran, he's going to get 1,000. If he leaves, I think it's a team that needs a wide receiver, and he's bound to get 1,300 again.
Yeah, I would agree with that because you got to factor in too. Whatever team that trades for him is going to pay him, and when you pay someone, you want to get that value. So if they trade him and they pay him, then they're going to throw to him a lot. You know, and to your point, Lucas, it's going to be a team that needs a wide receiver. So I'm going to go over. I mean, he can get 1,100 yards. I think that's like the floor for him next year. 12,000 would be a little over 1,000 is the floor. So I'm going to go over.
Like even if he was in Carolina, he's getting 1,000.
Yeah, they're going to throw it.
Depending on where he gets traded, that line might jump because, like, obviously the opportunities will always be there in that San Fran offense. Like, we've seen what a piece he is. But, like, if he is the number one focal point on an offense, he may that line may jump. So
I mean, just look at like Adam Thielen last year. That dude was going crazy in Carolina. I'd have to look. Let me look real quick.
He had over 1,000. I don't know exactly.
He was a demon for me in fantasy. Everybody was writing them off. There's a reason I wore 19 in high school. Let me tell you, that man right there. Yeah. Okay. So in Carolina this year, at 103 catches, 1,014 yards, and 4 tutties.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hit the over. I'm confident with
a team that could hardly get in the red zone.
and they knew he was getting the ball. So
yeah,
that's fair.
All right, the next one, we're moving to a wide receiver who moved to a new team, Jerry Jeudy. Lucas, I know you're very high on him. 700 yards flat for Jerry Jeudy.
Under for Jerry Jeudy. I think Elijah Moore is still going to be the wide receiver. Did they keep Elijah Moore? I'm pretty sure they kept Elijah Moore there. Elijah Moore was getting fed there last year. Amari Cooper's there. David Njoku. Jerry Jeudy is an inconsistent player, and when you talk about, okay, you're a wide receiver, now you're going to the Cleveland Browns, where you're playing outside, literally 30 feet away from Lake Erie, when in December, I'm sorry, Jerry Jeudy, you struggled already, you're going to struggle even more, especially when Deshaun Watson throwing you a football, because you don't know what Deshaun Watson you're going to get. Chemistry with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, with the wide receiver outside of Amari Cooper, and even then, Amari Cooper looked better with Joe Flacco than he did with Deshaun Watson. So I'm going to go under on this one. It's an easy decision for me.
And Njoku looked really good with Flacco. He was balling.
What's the line?
700.
I'm going to go under 2. They have Amari Cooper, Njoku. You mentioned Elijah Moore. They're a team that with Stefanski, they want to run the ball. And then that doesn't factor in also the times that Deshaun, he's going to want to scramble some too. So I don't see him being like that Devonta Smith level 1,000-yard number 2 wide receiver. So I'm going to go, and maybe he can get 800. I think that wouldn't completely shock me, but I would be impressed. I think he gets like 700. So that would be the under. So I'm going to go under.
We go to the NFC North for the last 2. Jaden Reed, 725.
You like Jaden Reed.
This is easy over. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay this year. He's going to get a shit ton of targets too, because you're going to have Romeo Doubs on the outside, Christian Watson on the outside. I'm sure Watson will be on the slot on the inside, but Jaden Reed is going to dominate the slot for the Green Bay Packers, and he's a nightmare for any linebacker or safety. Spartan dog, he's going to get over that line for sure.
I think so too, Jeff. I'll go in front of you. I think it's a no-brainer. I think he is going to be one of the focal points of that offense. We've seen what a weapon he can be for them. You can really move him all over the field. Being a Michigan fan, that is one guy from Michigan State that I just knew he was going to be a player in the NFL. So I'm going over.
Yeah,
he's going to keep getting better.
I think he can. I wouldn't be shocked. He goes out and gets 1,000. So I'm going to go over. I think you started to see it with Watson out due to injury. Dobbs is really good too.
Yeah, he is. Very
what
underrated.
Was the line?
725.
They got 3 guys that really could be.
They have 5 guys that could go for 100 in any given day.
Yeah, that's where it's tough for me because they're
793 and 8 touchdowns this year on 64 catches, Jeff.
I know.
So he went over that line his rookie season.
Without Watson, a lot of the game. Did he miss like half the season or something like that?
Yeah, but he's going to be the number 1 there, man.
As
far as targets go. He's going to lead him in targets.
I'm going to go under.
Oh, I'm trying to help you out here. Nope. I'm trying to help you. Go for it.
I'm going under. I actually like Jaden Reed, but I think with the the amount of wide receivers, a lot of mouths to feed. I think Dobbs is a really good player. Watson, if he's healthy, he's going to be. I saw it in person on Thanksgiving. Dude can play. And then you have other guys that Lucas you like too that they have backing them up, and they have some good tight ends. They're going to get back to running the football. I think he'll get like 600. 600. Number one, I don't think so.
You're giving him Darius Slayton stats? Is that what you're giving him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good God. All right,
Yep.
We'll move on.
Yeah, just because of the amount of mouths to feed. That's why.
That's fair. All right, the last one.
Conversation.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is at 1,250.
Ooh.
Amon-Ra
This
St.
is
Brown.
actually kind of a respectable line, in my opinion, because I think when you look at it, I'm going to go over, but I could see it being a lot closer. And I think we talk about it a lot, but when you talk about production with these players, this defense getting better is so much more important when you talk about these lines, because they're not going to be in as much high scoring games. They're not going to get down the field as much. If this defense can create more turnovers, lower the bleeding for the Detroit Lions offense so they can just run the ball, I could easily see a situation where Amon-Ra St. Brown gets 1,200 yards, and because the Lions are going to be 13-4, number 1 seed, number 2 seed. Lions are going to be just fine, but I think this is over. But I think it could potentially be closer than a lot of people want it to be.
I do agree.
Yeah, I'll go over too. I think he ends with between 13 and 1,400 yards. That's where I think he'll be. Just given, it's the NFL. It could miss a couple games. You got to take all that into account. And I think to Lucas's point, better defense. You're going to be up in more games. Therefore, even though it's a tougher schedule, but there'll be some games where maybe, on paper last year it'd be close. This year they're better. They'll be running the football late in the game. They won't be throwing it all around. But he is their safety blanket. I'm gonna go between 1,400 yards. So I'm gonna go over. But I know people are high on him, as in like 1,600 yards. I think that's a little too high for me. I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm gonna go between 13, 14, maybe even 14 and 15. But I don't think he tops what he did last year this season, in my opinion. So I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'm going to go over too. But like Lucas said, I think if he did go under and the Lions were still having success, it really doesn't matter to me. I think he'll be sniffing around this number. But we are going to move on to the running backs, and there is one quarterback included in this. This is just rushing yards. We're going to start with CMC is at 1,125. CMC, we seen him last year with the 49ers, was just unreal. We know what he can do.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it. I think we still have another year of Christian McCaffrey dominating the NFL. I'm gonna give it to him for sure. My thing is with CMC is not the talent, obviously. It's just we haven't seen Christian McCaffrey ever stay that healthy, and I think he got fed more than he ever has in his career. So I think there is some reason to be concerned about Christian McCaffrey being healthy. But I don't think when you're talking about him, you can just be like, oh, injured, because he's such a great player. He could play 12 games this year and somehow still manage to get 1,100 rushing yards because he's just that caliber player. So I'm going to go over. There's no reason to doubt Christian McCaffrey in anything right now.
Yeah, to your point, I'm with my guy Steve here. CMC is all they have when it comes to running. I think he could have like a Kyron where, 12 games, like you said, Lucas, he could hit the over. Excuse me. So I'm going to go over because of the type of player he is. Jesus, hiccup, sorry. I'm going to go over. Easy.
Lock in, Joe.
Coach Walk in LFG. The line is 1125 for CMC, and this is rushing yards. All of these players will be rushing yards. They're RBs, and there's one quarterback included. But I'm still going over. As long as like Lucas brought up, CMC's health is probably the biggest question mark, and if he gets this line, but he was just too dominant last year for me to even think about taking the under because, if he's out there, he's going to ball. So I'm going over.
And if they lose Ayuk too, they're going to have to rely on him more in the running game. He's going to get fed more in the receiving game, obviously, but they're going to be quicker to go to the run game than try to get Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings to Brandon Ayuk level.
Yep. I agree there.
All right, the next one. This is the one and only quarterback on this list, but Josh Allen is 500 yards.
What did he have last year? Do you know off the top of your head? If not, I'll
cleared that line like every.
We can phone into Booner. He probably remembers off the top of his head, but
so if I look at his statistics, I'll read off season by season. Every season he's been in the NFL, he's had. You look at rushing. So he had a little over. What was the line, Mike?
500.
So he's cleared that in every line he's played in. Last year he had 524. The 2 seasons prior he had over 750. He had one season in 2020 where he had 421. The season prior 510, and then his rookie year 600. So he's kind of fluctuated. He's cleared that in every season but one. And 2 of those seasons he's cleared it was by a little bit. So this one's
Jeffrey,
actually
can you do like one of those things like just real quick? Can you like click on the game logs from the season on whichever site you're at? Because my only thing that I'm thinking about is now they have Joe Brady there, and Joe Brady when he took over, he was running James Cook a lot, and that's when you saw Stephon Diggs kind of lowering his production. So I'm interested. I'm just gonna say it. I think it could be under. Actually, no, because they have no fucking wide receivers. No way. Yeah. I was going to say that, but I was like, you still got Gabe Davis. He likes throwing. No, he's gone because Josh Allen, when he rolled out of the pocket, he loved hitting Gabe Davis on the sideline. They're going to have to be going to Dalton Kincaid. And when you're looking at that, that's a lot of just, okay, if Dalton Kincaid's not open, we're rolling out the pocket, go find a play. Are you throwing a 60-yard bomb and trusting Keon Coleman, or are you going to run for 10 yards, get the first down, and get it to Keon on a different play? Josh, he's going to do both, but I think he's more frequently going to run.
So in the second half he ran more in the second half of the season.
So
he ran for double the TDs in about 100, maybe a little under 150 more than he ran in the first half. So I'm going to go over, given the wide receiver core they currently have. There's going to be some kinks they got to get through, and with guys not being where they're supposed to be comes scrambling, which comes, him trying to get extra yards there. That's Josh Allen. So I'm going to go over. I think he gets back to that 600-ish yard season, just given what they have. So I'm going to go over on that one.
And Lucas, you said over or under? I'm sorry.
Over for sure. Because I was already thinking that, and then I double taked it, but then even more so that if Joe Brady was running him, which is when the Buffalo Bills are the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen is running the football.
Yep, I agree with that.
And I think Joe Brady realizes that. He's been around to realize what the identity of that football team is, and it's Josh Allen making plays. So I think he's going to do everything he can for that this year.
I do agree. We talked about him earlier. Kenneth Walker is set at 875. Obviously was a little banged up. I'm not sure the amount of games he actually did end up playing, but he was pretty good when he was playing, obviously. So 875 for K9.
When I think of Kenneth Walker, I get so mad because the Seattle Seahawks, in my mind, do not utilize him correctly. That's a dude that could be at like Breece Hall type of caliber. I should easily just be like, over. Kenneth Walker, over 800. But when you look at how the Seahawks use him, I think they are trying to try to get their usage out of Zach Charbonnet as well. And Kenneth Walker does have injury concerns, so I'm gonna say under. I don't want to, but because he could easily be a 1,200-yard back, but I just don't see it happening. Not this year. I think they're gonna lean on Charbonnet a lot. I think he'll be a threat in the receiving game a lot more than he has been, but I don't see him getting 800. I could be wrong easily though.
I do agree in the sense that they don't use him the best, but he was they use him a lot in the red zone, which he improved that definitely for them. But I think he goes over, but it's not by much. I think he's in the 900s. I don't think he cracks 1,000, and that is to Lucas's point because they aren't using him correctly.
So this is a tough one because, like you said, Lucas, and also new OC Ryan Grubb, who was with Washington with Michael Penix. He's their OC, so he's a college guy.
Yeah, air that bitch out for sure.
That's what the Washington offense was. But I think to get the best out of Geno and Sam Howell, whoever you want to start, they're going to want to run the ball. I'm going to go over on this one, but he just cleared it last year, and he cleared it by like 100 plus the year prior, his rookie year. So I'm not super confident, but I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over.
I hope you're right, Jeff. Like, I hope I'm wrong just because Kenneth Walker is such a special talent.
He's always missing a couple games too. It's like two.
If I'm the Giants right now, I'm selling my soul for Kenneth Walker. He's a running back, so it's not going to take much. They have Charbonnet. Like, you just lost Saquon. That's a move you make right now if you're the Giants.
All right, Lucas, you brought this guy up a second ago. Breece Hall is set at 1,000 yards flat.
Oh, my.
Just 1,000.
that kind of just hurt the fuck out of my hand, but give me that every day of the fucking week. Breece Hall, Iowa State. He was the one that came after David Montgomery. So you got to remember, he's going to run angry just because he was mentored by David Montgomery in college, and he is an athlete. He can fly. I think he's up there with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think if you take Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall, and Bijan Robinson, those are like the next 3 running backs to take over the NFL. And I'm not going to be mad at whichever one you take because I think they're all great. So Breece Hall, fucking easy. And he's going to have another 600 through the air as well.
Yeah, you have a
Jeff.
You have a 50-year-old quarterback, so you're going to want to run the ball. That's just what comes with that. And I think Breece, he's a bell cow. They upgraded their offensive line. They brought in some interesting. They had who's their guard? They have a good guard. I can't think of his name.
Why'd you just say that? Oh, I know exactly. He's got a double last name.
Elijah Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there. They brought in Smith.
They got a nice center too. They drafted him last year. I forget his name off the top of my head, but they have a mid offensive line.
But it's better.
They don't have a bottom 32 offensive line. Like they had the worst offensive line in football at one point.
So better offensive line. They have an old quarterback. I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over on that. I think he gets over 1,000. So I'm confident with that one.
I do too. I think that offense is going to be flowing once you got Aaron Rodgers in there to spread the ball out, kind of get their passing game in rhythm for once in their lifetime. If he stays healthy, obviously, I think Breece Hall will get that 1,000. Another guy, Lucas, Jahmyr Gibbs. His line officially dropped.
All right, let's hear it.
Jahmyr Gibbs is only at 825 yards rushing.
Oh, the next drop we're gonna add here is Chad Ochocinco saying "Child, please," but Child, that's such easy money. I might throw $1,000 on that. If I'm gonna save up, I'm just gonna have a Jahmyr Gibbs over yardage line. I'm just gonna keep saving like 20% of every paycheck. By this time in 2 months, I'll be cashing that out. I'll be a happy man. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to clear that probably in the first 12 weeks. I understand that he splits a backfield, but 850, come on, just disrespectful.
Not even 850, 825.
825?
825. Jeff,
did they not watch him? Did they not watch the man play? Because hold on, there you go. Oh, there, yep. There we go.
Vegas, they got this weird thing, man. Jeff's
about to take the under.
They have Vegas, it's speaking. I'm listening. I'm listening. What Vegas? I'm gonna go over.
Jeff's narrative. Oh,
I was about to leave the stream. I think we all agree. Even though you're very high on Gibbs, we all agree he's talented. We all agree that he's going to get more carries. Me and Mike have been on the side with David. I think give David his respect. But to your point, like giving him his respect, David his respect is more than 800 yards. Like Jahmyr is going to have. I think he'll be 1,000-yard back. So we all agree there. Plus, the numbers differentiate. If you want to say 1,200, whatever it is, but. I'm going to go over. That's the benefit of being the fans we are, and we cover the team because we know this stuff, and Vegas doesn't, I don't know if they're cooking here. That's easy money.
Yeah, I'm taking the over easily for many, many reasons, but now that has me curious of what his line is going to be. It hasn't came out yet, so hopefully by next week we can get that one in there too.
I bet it'll be around. I bet it'll be like 8:15 or maybe even like 8:45 if they think he's going to have more because they're not going to have. They both had 1,000 last year, and I bet they're thinking that. I mean, maybe they get money with it. I don't know, but I just don't think. I think it'll be similar.
I think Monty will probably be less than Jahmyr Gibbs' line. I think it will probably be around 760, 750. That's what I think Monty's will be. And I think he clears whatever his line is given, but I think they're thinking along the lines that Gibbs is going to be that running back one and probably get more carries given that line too. But I think if Monty's line is 750, like I'm hammering that. I am so confident in that line that we seen like a bruise.
He missed time this year and cleared it.
What about this? LFG, what if Ben gives more targets to JMO and Sam Laporta, though?
We're talking about rushing.
That's fine. That's fine. The way this offense runs is built through their offensive line and their run game. So in the play action, obviously, they probably will get more targets, and rightfully so. You lose Josh Reynolds, you still got to incorporate those targets, but the run game is still balling, and David Montgomery's getting those yards.
Sipping on a juice box, bro.
Hey,
just steal that from Jack's.
I found this.
It's fucked up, Jeff.
It's not bad. It's not bad. A lot of sugar though.
I'm not gonna lie, Jeff. I did go to Target earlier this week because I work in a garage at work. It's hot as fuck. I bought a case of those, and we have a fridge upstairs at work, and I just threw them in there. I just popped the side of it, and I just.
Hey, say what you want. Not bad.
They don't miss.
Not
They don't
bad.
miss.
Not Tyler. Jeff is going wild. Summer haircut, Capri Sun.
It's like my third grade year all over again. My dad would take me out the backyard and buzz cut my hair, and I go inside, eat a popsicle, drink a Capri Sun, hop on some 2K or something.
That was your reward for getting your haircut. Was a Capri Sun.
I took it out of Jax's his supply, so
It's messed up, man.
he let me have it. Shout out to him.
Judas.
All right.
Yeah.
The last RB, and then we move on to 5 quarterbacks. We will go through these kind of quick so we can get to some mailbag. But the last RB, Aaron Jones, 725.
Oh,
725.
Did you not hear? Did you not see last year the Ty Chandler movie, the Ty Chandler show?
Oh man.
Did you not buy tickets to that? No,
Not
we'll go
Ty
over. But
Chandler.
I think Aaron Jones, it'll be close. I really do think that they're going to use Aaron Jones a lot through the air, especially because if they bring in JJ, you're not going to try to develop him down the field. You want him to get the speed of the game, check it down to Aaron Jones, hit Justin Jefferson on a slant, hit TJ Hawkinson. So I could see it being under. I'm going to say I'll actually go under because he gets hurt a lot. He's going to get hurt this year at some point.
yeah, that's the thing with him.
I'm going to say under. I'm going to say it's not a popular pick, but I'm going to say under.
That's the thing with him, though.
I'm actually saying under too.
Because they have who's their other back?
Ty Chandler.
Ty Chandler. Lucas's guy.
He's got some burst to him too. I laughed at Ty Chandler, and then I watched. No, Jeff, not saying he's a world beater. What you talk about as an RB2, when Aaron Jones goes out and you're looking over Ty Chandler, he's gonna get 85 yards on your team, and I think that's gonna talk about Aaron Jones. They got a mid-ass offensive line too.
You know what?
They're gonna be stacking the box against JJ.
You know what?
Yeah,
5th round pick. I like him.
I like the value with them.
I like the
Fast. He's fast now. Got some wheels to him.
value. That's where you draft for running backs, 5th round. I like it. I get what you're picking up. What was the line, Mike? 700 and what?
25. 725.
I'm gonna go over, but not too much. I'm gonna go like 800. I'm not too much over it. Yeah. Shout out to Steve. Reminder, buy the merch.
Shout out, Steve.
Steve.
All right, we're moving to the quarterbacks. We're going fast through these boys.
All
right. CJ Stroud, 4,175 passing yards for CJ Stroud.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm going over, and I don't think I really have to explain much on that one.
Wow.
4,175.
He had 4,100 this year. Yeah. I'm gonna go over. Man. Back-to-back 4,000-yard seasons. That's good.
That's common in today's NFL, and he's a top 6.
And it's 17 games. I'm gonna go over. On that. People have him as an MVP sleeper, so got to put up numbers.
He could throw 45 if he wanted to.
Yeah, I'm taking the over for Stroud. All right, the next one, Dak is at 4,075. Dak Prescott, 4,000.
Oh, I thought you were saying like 4,700.
No, 4,000.
Yeah, I'll go over on that too because they are not running the football there. They can't. The Rico Dowdle, Zeke. Yeah, all right. Fat ass Zeke.
Hey,
yeah, no.
Do you guys know that? Fun fact: Ezekiel Elliott is 28 years old. Saquon Barkley's 27. Let that sink in.
After I said that,
isn't that crazy?
Dude's wearing crop tops when he shouldn't be. I loved him at Ohio State, man, but he went to the Cowboys. 3 great seasons.
Yeah.
4.
He got worn out.
And then
one
he just
1 year older than Saquon. Isn't that wild? I'm gonna go over on that as well. He threw for 4,500 last year, and that was with Tony Pollard. And Tony Pollard, that experiment as him was the sole back did not work. But if it didn't work, you think Zeke's gonna work? Like I'm gonna go over. They're gonna throw the ball a lot. And he's in a contract. He wants to get paid. So if he's playing this year without a deal, he'll be slicing and dicing. So give me the over.
All right. I'm going over as well. I think they won't be able to run the ball. Zeke, I love Zeke. Not it. And to your point, Tony Pollard. Dude, I do. Zeke had one of the best college football seasons ever, and he was electric. As a Michigan fan, Zeke was electric in college.
Zeke streak?
He still was good for the Cowboys, too, at a point in time. But the next one we're going to do is for my boy Etienne in the chat. Matthew Stafford's at 3,925.
Under. No.
Stafford.
Oh, he's clearing that easily.
I was going to say, I'm surprised.
Yeah, the only way this doesn't clear, and Etienne would agree with this, is if he's not healthy. That's it. Like but I would assume he's healthy because I have faith he can be healthy and will be healthy. So I'm going to go over.
Yeah. What if he shook? What if he heard that podcast clip and now he's just mentally just not there anymore?
Because now he knows Joe Cox will be watching, so he's going to be slinging.
Joe Cox
I didn't get
always
to speak on that yesterday, obviously, but that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen, and she should be disgraced for ever bringing that up. And if I was Matthew, I would fucking disown her and never speak to her again. That, like, I don't know. She just needs to stay as far as away from a microphone as possible because she's fucking embarrassing.
We're booing those kids. Those kids, sure.
Now she's definitely getting booed. Like, everyone just thinks she's a clown show if they didn't beforehand.
Kids never got booed in the first place.
Yeah,
that's why you got that. Boo the kids. It's all you're booing her.
I mean, Matthew is going to enter this. He's hearing the rumors of Joe Cox slinging it. He's going to go sling.
Joe Cox is in the chat right now. He knows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's going to go out there and show everyone. Yeah.
Why? That just keeps it's right in my ear, dude. It's driving me nuts.
No, she's annoying as fuck and just needs to shut the hell up. But anyways, Patrick Mahomes, 4,225.
Over. I think this could be one of Patrick Mahomes' best years since losing Tyreek Hill. I think it's going to be another MVP season. Over.
Yeah, better offensive weapons. Yeah, I think he's going to ball out just like he always does. I think he has a way better year than he had last year. Way better. You're not going to be able to compare stats to him and other quarterbacks and say, look at it. Russell Wilson only had just as many. He had one less touchdown pass to Mahomes, whatever it is. Like, it's over. He's going to throw 40 this year, and it's going to be all over. So, big season for Mahomes. Big year.
Not only did their offense get better, but, like, he's taken over that, like, Tom Brady-esque, like, don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. And even if it's coming to his props at this point. So I'm not betting his under by any means because having a player go out there and you have to root for him to do bad probably is the most painful thing. So the last one we're going to do, Jaden Daniels, rookie, obviously with the Commanders, not the Redskins, like I said last time, but 3,075.
Under.
3,075. They do have some weapons. They got Austin Eckler now, the dink and dunk king, because we know he can't run the ball.
That's cute. They got Dan Quinn as head coach. Okay, look, great defensive mind, but a lot of talent around there on that offense. But I just think he's a guy that one's going to struggle early on. I worry about him injury wise. I think he could definitely deal with some injuries. And I think 37 is actually it's not that bad for a rookie year. So I think he's going to go under that.
I do think he goes over, and I don't think it's like a disappointing year when you look back on it. I do think the offense will take some steps forward, but him being a rookie, young quarterback in this league, I think he will still have to take those steps, and I think they start to put the pieces together towards the end of the year, but you don't see it as early as they may hope.
I'm not as big of a Jaden Daniels guy as others. I think he's going to be running a lot. He's going to be running a lot because that's his game. He has to take care of himself. But 3,000 just seems too low. Like in today's NFL, if he's
3,075.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking 37. Okay, I'll go over on that. My bad. I was
Yeah,
thinking
that's
37.
I'm still going under.
I'm gonna go over because he should. Like that, he should.
All right,
Like, come
I'll
on.
change
Like,
Lucas
that's
to over.
ridiculous.
That's on me. I think you said 3,700. That's on me.
No, you're good. You're good.
If he doesn't throw 3,000, it's like,
Yeah.
he got injured. I mean, that would be the reason, or he's just not good.
Maybe that's factored into it, and
And he does have to take care of himself, so that's fair.
He runs reckless as hell. He had like some violent, gruesome hits this year.
destroyed.
Bro's crashing out there.
Is that all we got?
That is it. That is it till
That wraps
next week.
it up. All right.
That wraps it up. Now we got mailbag.
You know what, Mike? Great job. Great lines. You know what? Hold on a second. We got to get a little celebratory. Good stuff today, Mike. Now, you know what? Even though we all disagreed on a couple things,
Hey, that's
overall,
why we do it.
solid.
And all of these, I have all these written down and everyone's picks, so we will be able to revisit them.
I'm
Now,
most confident in my Jaden Reed one.
3
without a
weeks
doubt.
worth of over unders. So we
gotta get a Kyle Pitts line for next week too. By the way, receiving.
Didn't we have one last week, or was Lucas not here for that?
Got us into the argument.
Oh, I was. Was it?
Yeah.
Were you not here for that one, Lucas?
Yeah. He was. Yeah. Yeah. He was. Yeah. No, he was.
I thought,
It was Kyle Pitts 4.5 TDs.
Oh, we started talking about the yards, and you brought up the 8-9 touchdowns.
No, remember the TDs. The TDs, remember the over-under for the TDs, and I was like, it was like 4.5, and there were 3.5.
Yes, we got to get yardage.
Let me see if his yards are up. I don't think it was up last time. That's why I did TDs, because some of the players' yards aren't up, or I kind of took their averages for the TDs of what they've done in their career and made a line off it myself. But
yeah,
I'll try and pull up his yards.
Yeah, that's literally when this whole Kyle Pitts thing starts. When we got to this absolute screaming match, and then I proclaimed that he's going to have 8-9 TDs this year. That same section.
He's going to be Tony Gonzalez out there. Absolutely fucking baffling statement.
Oh,
but hey,
all right. So they do have his line out now.
What's his line?
750.
Over.
Jeff was
I'm with it. I think he's an 800-yard
over. Give me Iguodala. That was how confident.
yeah, that's exactly.
He didn't even hesitate. 750, no problem.
Yeah, give me an over.
Jeff's gonna be holding the fucking over line like celebratory thing, like Jason Tatum was with the NBA Finals. That's it.
Yeah,
we did it. We did it.
And there was another one that Lucas brought up that I just wanted to bring up because this one dropped within the week was Bijan. Bijan is at 925 rushing yards.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Over.
It's fucking nasty.
Over.
Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah. No. Over. I agree with that. Raheem Morris, he knows.
He
knows.
Arthur fucking Smith.
He knows what to do with a talented back. He's gonna
know. Anyone's line you're curious of, I got it pulled up right now. So.
I got a line. For you guys. How many weeks until George Pickens punches Arthur Smith in the face? Line will make it 8.5 weeks into the season.
I'm gonna go under.
Under.
It's gonna be a rough start. Pickens ain't getting the rock. He's
gonna week 6.
You go under.
Yeah.
They're gonna be
over under. How long does Lucas last? Well, 10 o'clock. It would have been the over, honestly. It would have been the over, whatever the number was, because he made it to the end. Look at this man. He's just as excited as I am. Appreciate all you guys tuning into today's show. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, man. Have some fun, but not too much fun because we need you back Monday. And next week, we'll be live for the NBA draft. And get your merchandise, officialctsports.com, where Mike has that beautiful hat. Look at that hat. It's absolutely beautiful. The trucker cap, you can get yours. Yeah. Look at that. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? All right. Until Monday, we'll catch you guys. Stay safe out there. And we'll catch you. Deuces.